So welcome. This is to my first little stream, my first little game dev stream. So I can show the game again. It's very early on. There's this little game where you're this cat running around, and it basically has some platforming mechanics. You can jump and grab some ledges, and there's some nice transition animations and all that. And my idea here for making this is that I will, hello Cozy Lord, or Cozy Lord, begin by botching names. So the way I think about this is that, so I have traditionally been mostly a programmer. I made game engines before, and I've always had a bit of a hard time getting deep into game mechanics. So what I'm doing here is I have a special workflow with the Odin language that I will show off. That's very easy and nice to work with. Hello, welcome. And yeah, I have all that, and this workflow allows me to experiment with gameplay code in a way that makes it much more fun for me to make gameplay, and that's what I intend to try out a bit more. Yeah, so what I try to do here is I try to just take this cat that's running around, and I try to make like really nice platforming mechanics and get those nicely sorted, and then see where the gameplay can go from there, kind of find something more to add to it. I have some ideas for maybe a little storyline going, but I try to sort of stick to the gameplay. Like I try to make something, make it fun, see what if I can build on top of that somehow. And I will show you, like I said, how I make this gameplay stuff, how I make the gameplay code and all that, and how I iterate on it quickly. So yeah, so this is the game. Like I said, there's not much to do other than jump around. You can, the actions you can do is you can run, you can jump, you can grab the ledge if you end up close to it, you can press down on the ledge and it will slide down, or you can press space and then the cat jumps up. And there's also a mechanic that I added that I haven't really tweaked so much, which is sort of like an air dash. So you can jump and then you can press a key, press shift in this case, and then it does a little funny dash. This one I haven't, I'm not sure it will stay or not. Originally I was thinking of like Celeste things, but we'll see. I'm trying to keep it very cat. I don't know. Yeah, so you can grab like that and all that. So this is sort of the game right now, and I think I will go into showing sort of. We will start with showing the nice game, like how the workflows for how I make gameplay and iterate on it quickly, and then I will show some of the ways I've set this game up in the Odin language and all that. So let's get to it. So for example, let's close this one because we have obviously started. I can make this a bit bigger for the stream. So we have this cat game running here. Oh, there's a little bug there sometimes. Whatever. So we have this running here, and let's say we want to tweak some of the gameplay code while the game is running. Then we can do that, and the way I do that is by just hot reloading the code. So this is my Odin code here, and I can go and, for example, we have this air dash. You see that it goes from here to here, and let's try extending that, how long that goes. So then we'll find in my code, it's called state charging. I'm gonna have lots of, oh, I'm in the main file. Oh, here we go. Charging. Sorry, I've never done a stream before, so I'm a bit like, what am I doing? Oh yeah, it's called dashing, not charging. What am I thinking? Okay, here we go, for example. So this is when you're in this state where you dash and fly, then this code is run each frame. It sort of sets the velocity depending on the phasing of the characters to something, and then it says that this will not be affected by gravity, and then if it has been in this state for more than 0.2 seconds, then it sets the state normal. Yeah, so like one thing we could do here is just while the game is running, we can change this to half a second, and we can go back here, and then I can dash much longer. And that actually, what this did when I pressed F, I can show this again. I do this, I press F7, and I just tab back to my game, and then it recompiled the DLL with the game, and the game is split into actually an EXE and a game DLL, and the EXE is continuously monitoring if this DLL has changed, and if it does change, it will load in the new one but use the same memory. So, and then you just keep the game running. Some of you that come from like maybe the handmade community or something like that, you've seen this before. Yeah, so now I can dash very long, run into a wall. Yeah, so that's sort of how that works. But so the thing here is already this with that kind of hot reload is when. So I look at, you know, other game designers that have this incredible stamina for waiting for compilations and restarting the game, and I'm like, no, I need to, like, you know, I need to tweak my code to do this like tiny little thing and try to make it perfect. And if I have to restart the game and wait like a few, even like, you know, 20 seconds each time, then I'm already kind of like, I don't have the stamina to do that. I lose, it becomes boring or uninteresting or something. So this is actually the first time that I like doing all these nitty-gritty things with gameplay code. Like I have even added a small animation when you grab the ledge, like you're jumping, and then it does a little flip into this animation, and then I add this animation. I try to line it all up. If I didn't have the hot reload stuff, I would have given up. Let's see, there's some comments already here. Yeah, they're constants like that. Yeah, so the way I read the question, I guess a question about having a file for constant like the dash length. Yeah, but you can do that, but since I have the hot reload, it's like the code becomes data. So and since I'm the only one working on it, it's sort of like, for me it's as good. If it becomes confusing for me, so I can't find it. The reason I had a trouble finding it here was because I'm nervous and streaming. Usually it's fine. So the code kind of becomes data when you have hot reload, because previously, you know, people have had these kind of like, oh, we put everything in data files because we can reload the data files, but we can't reload the code. Nowadays we have see this more and more with people having like hot reload of code. So then like you can actually skip some of those data files and just keep it in the code. But yeah, it does, especially if you're in a small team, you can be a bit more chaotic about it. Does it check for the DLL changes to the DLL each frame? We can look at the code of the DLL, like the hot reload, in a bit. I don't remember exactly if I have a timer or not on it. We'll see. But yeah, so one way I use this hot reload to really tweak the gameplay and make it like this little grab. Like I said, there's a little tiny animation going just when it sort of lands and goes into this hanging. And adding that one, and so that what it does. Okay, I can actually go into the debug mode here. So this debug mode shows these green things is the LED, like the edges that you can grab onto, and the little purple thing here on the player character is sort of like the position where the player cat can actually grab. And then there's some hitboxes here. So if this box comes close enough to if this purple circle comes close enough to one of the green circles, and you're going in the correct direction depending on which way this corner is facing, and I have some conditions for that, then it will know that, okay, we are about to go into like a ledge grab. So actually what it does is just before it even grabs it, it knows it, and then it plays a very short, like 0.2 second animation where you actually don't have control, but it's so short that you don't notice. And then that little animation is what is this thing. Oh no, this thing. Let's see. It's hard to. Yeah, the little chup before the grab. Anyways, turn off the debug. And so I think, yeah. So this state here, I call in the code. I call it player state hang, and I haven't actually made a separate state for the little transition animation before, but I just wanted to show like one way that I have tweaked this. So what I do here is I check if the transition animation, the little flip into the hanging animation, if that one hasn't played, then I know before the state even starts, I know that where is the position the player need to be, like where is the grabbing position, the little corner thingy, this little thingy. And then it calculates, oh, the needed position is this position, depending on if you're facing west or east, plus this. This is just hard-coded for now. This might move to data later, but you know, like I said, single person project early on, I can fix that later. So this is the position where the cat needs to go to, and this is the position where it started, which means that when I fly towards the position, maybe the cat is actually here, but it knows it's gonna grab the point here, so it needs to lerp the cat quickly there and also play an animation and all that. So it does this does a like a math.lerp, and it also updates an animated sprite called anim jump to hang, which is the little animation. I can even this animation looks like quite funny to look at animations. This animation looks like that. Here's the jump, and then it actually just turns up and goes into this one, and when that is done, it will be in it will get to this animation, which only has one frame. Anyways, so this is just the fact that I could tweak like which values do I put here, and for how long does this lerp happen and all that. That I could tweak those things while playing. That made very quick to implement this. So already there it was very easy. Yeah, so let's see if chat is saying it's amazing. Yeah, hot loading rocks. Thank you about the animation. Yeah, so I think I will back up a bit and we'll quickly look at the it's like I said, the game is split into an exe. I can show the folder here. Close all this crap. The game is split into an exe, this one, and then there's a game.dll. So the exe is just like a little wrapper application, and game.dll is, well, this file here is the sort of game code. It goes into DLL, and this will be the big one, and the loader will stay small. So we can look at the code for the loader, and it's not that much. So here is I mean I assume some people won't have seen Odin code before, but anyways, Odin is like if you come from C, the differences is that like the declaration syntax and how you declare variables and functions and stuff might look a bit different, but you get used to it, and it's actually quite consistent. So this is the main function, which functions are, well, you usually say procedures because it's a more general word. So there's the main proc, and what I do in this is not a giant function really. It sets up a tracking allocator. This, I can show you this later. It's an allocator that checks for memory leaks. Odin is it has manual memory management. So what I use this special allocator to track all the memory allocations, and then when I shut off the application, it shows me if I leaked any memory. I can actually, let's just show this quickly. I can turn off the game, do like here I do my mem okay, and then I go like mem.alloc. I allocate 300 bytes, and I let's run this from the command line, so the game closes too fast for you to see otherwise. So this one allocates 300 bytes, and when I close this one, you see this is used from Raylib, which is the graphics library I'm using, but you see this line that says at main.odin line 125, it's this line here, you leaked 300 bytes. So that's where you find it. This is, I think people, you know, are afraid of manual memory management. This is sort of the I would say it's a silver bullet that people should look into if they're afraid of it, to make it feel like less scary. And then you can just go through the list of your memory leaks and yeah, exactly. The tracking allocator is really a lifesaver. It's just, even if you're good at, I think, you know, even if you're good at you know, memory management and all that, which I think it's not that hard to do manual memory management, but even when you're good at it, sometimes you mess up, and it's just good to sometimes do a sanity check and like, okay, let's, even if you don't always have a tracking allocator on, you're like, okay, let's run with now, play for a while and see if anything leaks. So yeah, and this is actually the function that each time when I shut down the game, this function runs, and it just looks through all the allocations of the tracking allocator and then clears the list of allocations. So it yeah, I use this also when I reset the game, because I can reload the code of the game and then actually reset it, so it is as if I just started the game. What I mean by this is I can show instead of saying, so I play the game here and I can reload the code and just have it appear, but sometimes, for example, when you change the layout of a struct so the memory moves, you actually need a full reset. Then you need to wipe the you need to free all the memory and bring it in again. And then I have F6 here, which actually resets the whole game, and this one tears down, it resets the tracking allocator and it tears everything down, and it's almost identical to restarting the game, but you don't have to restart the game. You don't have to restart the exe. I'll show that in a bit. So what this main thing does is that it loads the game API, and load game API is a function that's up here. It's quite boring to look at because it does like fetching functions manually from a DLL, but essentially it loads a DLL. Where does it load it? Here it loads a DLL, and then it checks in that DLL for a bunch of function pointers, which are the ones we need, and then it assigns them to an API struct. And this API struct is here, looks like this. It has like an init window, init, update, shutdown, blah blah blah. And what this init function does, it returns a raw pointer with the memory the game needs, and the update function takes that raw pointer every frame. And this is how, when I hot reload, like normally without resetting everything, I can the whole game state stays, because this init function is only run when I do a full reset. If I just do a hot reload, this is not run, and then update is just fed the same memory over and again. Yeah, I think, yeah, like said in the chat, you can probably do it somehow on Linux as well. Yeah, so that's the game API, and what we can see here, that it runs this load function. You get the game API. If it fails, then it just returns and says some error message, and then it inits the window separately. This is just because I don't want it to create the window when I reset the whole game, because when I reset the game with, you know, this F, when I do this in the game, when I just run and I want to play from the start again, I don't want it to create a new window, so I do this separately. But this is then the init function returns the game memory, blah blah blah, and here is it says that last time I checked the game DLL. Okay, you know what? This one isn't used, so I think it checks every frame. Yes, it does. Okay, let's remove this one. And this is the main loop of the program. So it runs the game API.update, which is my main update function, and that one is fed the game memory, which is returned by the init function. And this is just like, I can show this function, but game update, it just does some, draws the world and does some update stuff. We'll look at that more later. And yeah, so it sets the window. Oh, this one also return if you close the window or something. And then there is like, oh, if you pressed F5, then we force a reload, which is just, it just refreshes the game DLL without restarting the game, and then there's a force restart, which also clears all the memory and all that. And this is the thing that automatically makes sure that we can reload the, like when, if I compile from outside and the game is running, it needs to reload the DLL. So this thing does that. So it checks the modification time that was set on the game API when load game API was run, and it compares that to this one that it just fetched, and then it says reload true if that was not the same. And reload true just loads a new game API, and if that one loaded okay, then it does, and here it does a kind of funny thing, which I think is a good idea. Like I said, if you change struct layouts, then your game might crash. Like essentially, like you because what this update function does, it's fed the same memory each frame. So if I change struct layouts and then it's fed the same memory, and then it's like, haha, look, this memory that you fed me, I'm gonna use it with this other struct layout that wasn't created with, and then it suddenly reads things in the wrong order or reads outside the memory or whatever, you know. So what this thing does is it asks the game memory, the game API, like, so what's your memory size? And this is sort of, you know, for the main game memory blob. And what memory size does, I can go to this function, game memory, this one, it just, this is in my game game file, like in the game DLL, game.odin, which is where the game memory struct lives. And this struct is just like, it has the player, it has a world, has some other stuff, some funny hacks I have used, and who knows. This just returns the size of that one currently. So since it has both APIs currently loaded, it hasn't unloaded the old one yet. It compares them, or if someone pressed F6 to force a restart. If any of those is true, then it actually shuts down the whole game API, which clears all the memory, resets the tracking allocator, which will report leaked stuff, and then it unloads the game API, and then it sets the game API to the new API. And this sort of protects you a bit. I mean, it's not perfect, but it does protect you a bit from accidentally crashing. You you just compile, and then the memory has changed, like the layout of the struct is changed, and then you crash. So it's a little protection for that. But if force restart is false or the memory size is the same, then it just unloads the game API and sets the new one to sets game API to the new one, which then will each frame feed the same memory again. And this is what makes the hot reload work, and it's also why it's possible to tweak the gameplay code so easily. And if, you know, window open, so this is, by the way, for non-Odiners, Odineers, this is a while loop. So if you just for with a bool, then it's a while loop. And I guess I can quickly also just say that this declares and inits a variable, while if you just have something like window open 2, this would just be a bool that sets to the default value false. This is a bool that's inferred. It's automatically inferred to a bool because there's a bool in the right-hand side. So you either have just a colon and then you have a type, or you have a colon and an equals and like that. Or if you want to change the value of something already declared, which is, I don't need to show that because it happens, where does it happen? Oh, it happens there. So that's just the different things. And it kind of nice consistent syntax, I think. Let's see, let me quickly look at the chat. I have the chat on my laptop here, which I look so weird direction here. Yeah, so that I can, there was a thing here about keep in mind that you need a copy of the DLL so the game can use it without blocking the file for the compiler. And this is true. So what my load game API function does here, if I go to it, is that it checks the modification time of game.dll, and then there's an API version which I tick for each time I reload. I just tick this up, and then that's the name it will copy it to. So here it actually let's see here. Yeah, this is me. Just, you know, I would probably use some cross-platform thing here if I wasn't only Windows right now, but I copy game.dll to this thing, and then I use that, which means it works properly. Yeah, I call system C for but it's, like I said, it's only me working on it, so I can do this funny things right now. My philosophy sort of with doing funny hacky thing is, as long as it doesn't really matter, I can change it when one day have a problem with it. Anyways, so oh, was I gonna no, I showed what I was supposed to show up there about the copying. So that will copy to a separate place, so when you try to recompile game.dll and do hot reload, it doesn't block the compile because it's not actually using that DLL. And if the window closed, then it will do a shutdown of the game memory, check the tracking allocator, and this is the tracking allocator check that you saw in the example before, where I shut the game down from the command line and saw this leak here. And then it closes the window, and yeah, all that. So that's the whole main function. So just this main thing, and a big function to load these. I have this feeling that maybe there's a way to make this nicer. What I do is, like, I fetch symbol addresses from inside the loaded DLL, and I cast them manually to a procedure, and if that succeeds, then if all of those succeeds, I set up the game API. Yeah. Does Odin have a cross-platform copy file command? I don't know, but I mean, I don't know. But it would be easy to implement if it didn't. So what I'm gonna do here today is, this is the thing you should start a thing with. You just have a summary, you know, oh, this is what we're gonna talk about today, which I didn't. But anyways, so I showed a bit about, like, the workflows with the hot reload and why that is nice. This is not something unique to Odin. This is like, people went crazy over this when this guy called Casey Muratori did this in C for the Handmade Hero project and all that, with having the hot reloading in like a proper in like a manually memory managed language. That's a mouthful. But let's look at, after this now, we can look at some nice Odin things that I really like. I just have a few things that I would like to show, and then I was thinking of doing, like, implementing a quick little new feature in the game, and then I pour me some tea. Well, I do that now. That sounded like I would pour the tea after all this. That's the last step, but no. Anyways, so I work in the day, I work in C# in Unity, and the #1 feature in Odin that I miss every day since I started doing things in Odin is Odin's unions and how you can work with unions. So I want to show that a bit. So let's go to the game.odin file. And so let's go to the player struct, find it here. So my player struct is this thing. These animations probably shouldn't live in here, but they do for now. That's a thing I will fix soon enough. But the interesting thing here is the state. So the player struct has a state. Player state. So this is a struct. It says : struct. Here is player state. It says : union. And so these are all the different states. Now you may be like, oh, but that just looks like an enum or something. Like, no, these are actually type names. Well, okay, this look that, and then you'll be like, okay, but isn't that just like a union in C or something? You can do that. I'm like, yeah, but wait a bit, you'll see. So you have this player state union, and it contains like, oh, the normal state. You know, see, some of these are empty because I used to use them as sort of like enums, but some of them have state in them, and that's really important. So, for example, the hang state, which is the funny state when the cat jumps and grabs. Now I'm in the hang state. It knows where the grab position is, which is the one of these positions, that one. And let's see, and then it knows if the transition has played. If I just use an enum, like in some languages, then maybe I could have like the player state hang, like player state hang state, whatever you call it, and I could have a separate. I could have an enum and a separate struct. But here I have a union, and instead. But the problem is in like C and C# is you would still, even if you had a union in C, you would still need an enum to know which state you are currently in. But you don't need that here, because when I create the player, for example, we can go to init memPlayer. Yeah, here's my game init function. I say memory.player is all this stuff. It doesn't need to say the type here, because it knows it's a player, so you can use init struct like this and type the field names. It sets the state to state player normal. Okay, sure, it's empty. I mean, I don't think state player normal has. Oh, it has touched ground. That's so it knows if it. Yeah, it's used for something with collision detection, I think. Who knows? Let's do that. Okay, so it's in player state normal when you start the game, which is, I can restart the game. It's this state where you run around. The jumping state is separate. So this is in normal. And then we go to the game update function, which is all of these with export on are the functions that are the entry point functions called by the main exe thingy. And this one goes, if we're not in the editor mode, there is an editor mode, by the way. I shouldn't show that now because it will get too chaotic. So if you're not editing, then you do play mode update. In play mode update, we have a lot of things happening. One of them is update player. So the player lives inside the game memory. Here it takes out a pointer to the game mem.player and it throws it into update player. Update player, it checks for some input stuff here and that's not so interesting. The interesting stuff is here. So P is this P variable is the player, and it switches on the state of the player. Remember, this is a union. And this is sort of the magical thing here, that you can switch, if you write switch s in p.state, then you can, in the cases here, you can actually use the type names in the union to know which one this state union currently has as value. So in the normal state, it does all this. And if I press, for example, let's see here. Yeah, if I press space bar and it has touched ground, which is a thing that comes from the collision detection stuff, then it will try to run jump, the jump function. And what the jump function does is it sets the player, it resets some values stuff, but then it sets the state to jumping. And when and then you can go back to this update function, find the jumping state. Okay, here is the jumping state. So jumping state is slightly different. It's that one, and yeah, this one, the movement is slightly different. And let's see here if we can find some good example of. Oh yeah, it was the player state hang I wanted to show actually. So it's this one. So this one plays a little extra transition animation at the start. So in this one, S here is the S variable. You see, switch S in people.state. What this is the current state union value of the correct type. So it's actually S here in this case, inside this case, will be of type player state hang, which has the grab position and transition played. So you get those things. So you get the enum stuff plus the union stuff in one go, and that tiny detail I think makes it really nice to do this kind of state machines where you know which state you're currently in and you know all the ways to get out of it. So in this case, in the while I am hanging here, if the transition is played, so we can ignore this. Let's say the transition is played. Then the only two things that can happen is either I press spacebar and then I go into the hang climb state, which is this one, or if I go down again and get stuck on the wall again, or if I press the down key, then it says the player state wall slide, which slides down. It shows better on this wall. It's longer, so it slides down. Oh, now I jumped up. So it slides down. So then you can easily see from this state, the only two ways I can get out of this state is by pressing space or pressing the down key and doing these two things. And like state machines is not a new thing, but in C#, for example, or C or C++, what tends to happen, actually I think maybe you can do something like this in C#. I remember there was some kind of ugly magic I did, but if you're in C or C++, then you can do this, and like I think the moment I have to have an enum plus a union, it gets a bit tiring. Like for each state I have to have this extra thing, and then I can be like, you skip the state machine, and then I get this super messy code, and then eventually have to make the state machine, but it's not as nice. So it just makes it easier to get into each time, so it's quite nice. So the union stuff with the switch on the union type and getting the current union variable is a super feature, and I think is very good for video games because you have lots of these little funny state machines. Yeah, what more to am I done now? No. So we're gonna try implementing a new little feature I was thinking about. Yeah, maybe that's what we should do now. Is there any can type any questions you want in the chat? Well, I'm just gonna try to figure out. I really wanted to show the union stuff. I can show a thing about the game I'm currently making is that I'm making it from a very I only build so this is sort of a from scratch game. Well, depends on definition. I'm using Raylib. Some people be like, oh, but you need to make your rectangle in OpenGL and put a texture. But anyways, I'm making it kind of from scratch, and then people be like, oh, so you're making your own engine or something, but I tend to try to focus on saying that it's making a game, and then I end up adding some functions, like some features here and there, and I try to not write big general features for one example here is very good example is that I haven't actually yet, you can see in the game that I can run around and jump, I haven't actually implemented sort of proper physics because I haven't needed it yet. The day I need it, I will do that. But what I currently do is in play update, and this is also not optimized because currently I only have like, this world doesn't have much in it. So what it does each frame currently is that it goes through all the walls in the world, and then it compares, since there's only one player currently, I haven't implemented like an entity system yet because there's only a player. The day I have two things running around, I will think about maybe, oh, can this be abstracted somehow? But so I have some walls, and for each wall I take out a wall collider, and then I check if the player is colliding with the wall. I also have some special colliders for the feet of the player and stuff. And if they collide, then I sort of return a fix to that collision. And you might think, oh, is this some kind of fancy collision detection thing? Like, nah, it takes one collider and then another one, and then it uses a Raylib function which is called get collision rec, and this one returns if these two colliders overlap and the rectangle that they currently have in common. That's all. And then I do some magic here to figure out like, okay, but in which direction should I push one of these colliders to get it out of collision? So this, you might say, oh, but it's just a hack. And I'm like, true. But the day that this doesn't work, I will make like, you know, I know all about making like using like GJK and EPA algorithms to do like collision detection and resolving and all that, or using like some physics engine like Box2D or who know what. But this works now, and it actually makes it faster to do the other things, because if I start doing like a making a very fancy physics engine, then I will just end up implementing lots of features I don't even need currently, or might not ever need. So I think only implementing the thing that you actually need for the even tiniest feature that you're working on is the best idea. And this is especially true if you're like a one-person team, or maybe a two-person team or something, because you're not going to step on anyone's toes by having it a bit rough around the corners, but you're going to be able to move faster and all that. Why are the colliders taken by pointer? No reason at all. That's what I typed when I typed it. Yeah, there's no reason. I think I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay. So what did I want to say with all that? Well, no, it was mostly that I just tried to make the minimal features that I need for the time being, and then I know enough about making game engines that I can refactor it into the thing, because I'm like worked on game engines and stuff before, so that's all fine. And this is actually quite a relief for me, because, you know, I've always been like, oh, I'm just gonna make my game now. Okay, time to first just make the broad face collision detection and the PBR rendering pipeline. Let's go. And then I sit there and I'm like, what am I doing? What game am I making? I don't know. You know, that's what usually happens. So this is I think the combination of the hot reload stuff that I felt that I could actually experiment on gameplay made it so that I didn't even want to do the engine stuff. I just wanted to do the tiniest thing that I currently need to get going to the next thing, and then refactor as I go and make it nicer. Just don't be afraid of ripping stuff out and making sure that you can migrate your data if you actually need to. Okay, so what's your process for creating sprite sheets for animations? So I can show that. Let's pivot a bit. So I think I'm gonna show you how to make a small small feature. I can begin by showing like, so I make the animations in Aseprite. I don't know how to pronounce it, which is the best program in the universe. It looks like this, and I have, let's see here, which one is which. Repos, cat game, source data. This one. Yeah, so this is the climb up animation. This is the one that where you climb up. And what I did for this one is I did a few funny things. I'm talking too much and I cough. Sorry. I should probably mute my microphone when I cough, so I don't blast anyone's ear out. So when the cat jumps up, this animation here is this one. The way I originally made this animation is that, as you see, this animation is 16 by 16 pixels, and for me it's a bit hard to know, like when I animate frame by frame like this, it's a bit harder for me to know how is the player actually moving, like because there's two things going on. It's animating, but then this animation actually moves the player itself. You see, like that, it jumps up here. So I'm like, okay, tracking both those two things at the same time. And by the way, I am total not graphics. I'm a very amateur when it comes to graphics, so take it with a grain of salt. But this is the original file I did. Anyways, this is what I wanted to say. So I expanded it to 32 by 32 pixels, and then if we step through these animations, you can see that it actually moves within the frame. Yeah. So it moves up, and then what I did when I was happy with that, and these have lots of funny things going on. I cleaned this up in the final one. When I was happy with that, I compressed it down to 16 by 16 pixels again, but I noted down the offsets in this one so I could make sure to move the player accordingly. You could also just, you know, add like a force to the player to make it fly up this ledge, like choop. But tweaking that to make it look nice is hard. So what I did instead was I measured like how far have I moved it for each frame. I measured in this file, and then I compressed it down to 16 by 16 pixels, and I had a list of all those things. And this is sort of similar to what you in 3D would call root motion. So in 3D models, animations, you sometimes have a thing called root motion, where it's like how much should the model itself move while this animation is playing. And so I noted down how much it moves, and I compressed it down here, but this animation does not contain that list of how much it moves in order to get between the different frames. So, and here you will see one of my other funny things. State, what's it called? State hang climb. Yes, this one. This is probably the worst hack in the entire game right now. So can you see it? So this is from the start. It's the offsets that this thing has. I measured them and I put them into a list. Like, okay, it starts at no offset at all, and the further we go in these 14 frames, the more it should be offset. And then as I play the animation, I know which frame I'm currently at, and I make sure to take the starting position of the player, which is where it hang, and then it jumps up. So the starting position is this, and then I add that offset for each frame until it's up there. So you might say like, oh, but isn't this just a huge hack? Yes, it is. But when I have another case of this happening, like currently this is the only place this happens, but if I have 2 places or 3 places where I have this kind of offset, then I will probably make a small tool that's like a animation editor or something within the game, where I can like say that, okay, it's this animation, and for each frame this is the offset, which then sort of becomes this sort of root motion stuff, and then I would plug that in there. But currently it's hard-coded here because it's the only case where I currently do something like that. And you can see this offset here is used down here. It says player.position equals the start position. The S is the current, remember, S is the current state, which is player state hang climb. So that one has some state. This one is assigned when the state starts. It's the where the player was at the beginning, and it takes the offset of the current frame. The current frame is report. Yeah, it just grabs it from the hang climb, animation, and then there is a flip here if you're going to the west or east, because all the animations are animated to the east, and if the player struct has a facing enum that used to flip. And if it's done means that it's at the last frame of the animation. Then it will set the player state normal and say that the player is actually standing on ground. It knows this because these things only happen next to ground, these grab points. And it puts it back into the normal state. So that's how that works. And as for the creative, like animation stuff, you know, just doing the animations, like my friend said, it's the 90% feeling. I just knew that I wanted to come from here to something that looks a bit like the walking animation. And then I tweaked it and I added more frames when I needed to, and made sure that it had some sort of bounce to it and all that. And in this initial one, you see there's lots of weird things happening here. Like it suddenly becomes much bigger, and the tail is just flying everywhere, just going up and down. And I cleaned this up you can actually play it in this one. I cleaned it up a bit, but I just go by feeling, really. And I'm gonna color this more later, but the reason I don't color it because I'm novice at animating. So if there's also colors in there, then I will get so confused that I don't know what to do. So I first try to make all the animations sort of look nice, and then I might do a coloring pass later. So that's a bit about the animations. Oh yeah, you can also, when you slide down, this is an action I didn't show. Oh no, wait. Ugh. While you're sliding down, you can jump away, and then you can actually do an air dash in the air. So like I said, the air dash might go, who knows. Yeah, I know it's a bit hacky, but yeah, it's like I said, if you're one person, hacks are okay. Just make sure that when you and there's a bug. I fell through the ground. I think it's too long delta time, and I'm not checking for it, and the physics is crap. So that's that will be fixed when I improve the physics. Yeah, it's a bit hacky, but if you're one person, then hacks are fine. Just make sure to, for your own sake, like when you have a few cases where if you do these hacks in more than 2 or 3 cases, then maybe make a small editor. Talking about editor, I actually have a small editor in the game. If I press F2, it says edit mode, and then I can paint like this, and I can jump up on this, and it's all good. So I can do like this and this. Okay, I don't want that one. I can right click it to remove it. And this automatically saves the level. So if I close the game and run it again, this is all here. How to get up on this thing now? I made some weird stuff. I'm gonna remove it. It's also fun to put something under yourself and resume. This is my favorite animation frame. The climb, yeah, it might be a bit too long, or go to a bit too. You're gonna get annoyed by it after a while. But actually, what I do is there's a if here. If you're past the 9th frame, then it starts feeding. If it's past the 9th frame, then it starts feeding input into it. So it actually starts moving it a bit as long as you're past the 9th frame. So I don't know if that. Yeah. So there's a bit of difference in that, and yeah. So that helps a bit, but we'll see if I should tweak it. Anyways, I think that's it for little. I will probably be programming, and then I will call out nice Odin things as I go. I would guess I could say about Odin in general. People be like, oh, so what's the unique selling point about it? I'm just like, well, it's not one thing. It's just all these, like I showed the union thing, and we'll see a bunch of other things, just many tiny things. And it's also that it's a manual memory management. it is it's statically typed, and it's compiled. Those three things, people don't make much languages that fit into that, and so, well, it's more popular to make like automatic memory management, or like some kind of dynamic non-compiled dynamically typed language and stuff. So this is something that appeals to people that come from C++ because of all those things. And then there is a bunch of things that if you come from C, it's all those things that you're like, oh, I just wish it was like this, and then it's like that in this language. So that's sort of that's usually my my pitch for it. Anyways, so we're gonna add a little feature. That's what we're gonna do now. I restarted the game for no reason at all. So what I want to add is I want to remove this block, but what I want to do is, so this is my debug mode. The red square here is the player's collider, which is used to like walk into walls and blah blah blah. There's a small collider underneath. That's the feet collider. This collider is used to know if you're grounded, because actually the player is standing just above the ground, you know, maybe 0 pixels above the ground, but it's not intersecting with the ground, but the feet collider is. So that's the thing that makes sure that the player is grounded, so we know if he can jump, all that. There's a last little mini collider at the front called the front collider, and that's currently only used for one thing, which is a little thing I did, which I can show. Wait, we can just let's add a big block here. You know, there's this wall slide thing. So wait, let's make it a bit shorter. Oh no, I made a single, this is a bug. I made a single pixel thing. I have to remove that in the file later. Okay, this is not the best. Excuse me, I will jump up here, and then I will make this one like that. And then I will make this one like that. And then, so this front collider is for knowing if you're still touching the wall while you're sliding down it, and then it can go out of the sliding state. So that's the only thing it's used for. So I don't know if you saw it, but it didn't have the sliding animation all the way down. This last part, it was in the non-sliding animation, so you have control again. Yeah, with Odin, Odin also has like built-in vectors and matrices with swizzling that looks, the swizzling almost looks like shaders, which is super nice. So you can do like .rgb, .BRA or whatever you want to do on a color, and you get like those components out of it. But it's not in a shader, it's just in your gameplay code. That was from the chat. Anyways. So the little feature I want to make is, okay, first let's remove this. So my editor autosaves whenever I go out of edit mode, which is, I'm gonna add at some point so there's more levels, but if I accidentally make this 0 width blocks, I can go here, it's this one, width 0, height 0, remove it, restart the game, and it's gone. So I edited the level and pressed F6, and it reloaded everything. So what I want to do is, I've been annoyed at how the player, like, I've been trying to make it all like nice so you can grab things, but when you walk out on ledges like this, you stand in this impossible way like this, and I'm like, this is exactly the kind of thing I want to try my hand at doing, like some kind of nice gameplay stuff for. So what I wanted to do is, when you run like this is how that's supposed to happen. But if you walk and then stop here, the first attempt I'm going to do at this is that it does sort of a reverse, it does a little ledge grab, so it kind of goes down into something. You end up in, well, you end up in this state somehow. So sort of, I don't know, maybe when you're more than this far out, it will try to do that. Or if you're close to the edge and press like the down arrow, maybe it will do it as well. We'll see. That's the kind of stuff I want to tweak. So the first thing I'm gonna do here is just to like maybe when your feet collider is intersecting one of these green plops and you press down, it will just snap you into holding the ledge. And then we'll try to fix the case where you stand a bit far out, so it looks like video game. This is what I said called this currently looks like video game, because it's kind of impossible thing. But I want to make it not look like video game. I want to make it look like cat. That made no sense at all. Okay, is it a custom file format? Looks like JSON but without the quotes and commas. Exactly, that's exactly what it is. It's called, there's a bunch of different names for these formats. It's called like HJSON or SJSON or all those different kinds. And Odin comes with a parser of JSON built in that handles some of these popular variants, and I can show you like parser. So one thing, this is a funny, this Odin time. One thing here you can see in my I'm using Sublime Text here for editor, and the folders I pulled into Sublime, which is the folders where I can search for I can search any code in these folders for functions and stuff. So I put my game, and then I put the core folder from Odin and the vendor, which is sort of like libs that come with bindings in Odin, and then there's an examples folder in the Odin. So this is the sort of standard library of Odin. I throw this whole thing in here, and this means I can kind of just go to the symbol of that code. So when I type parser here, it's actually in core encoding JSON parser. So now I'm inside Odin standard library, and Odin standard library is it's not pre-compiled. So if you change stuff inside the core folder, which actually lives with the compiler over at another place, if you change stuff in there, then you can actually that will happen automatically when you recompile your program. You will use that new code because the standard library is not pre-compiled like that. And it's also nice because the standard library code is very well written. So one of the best ways to learn this language is to like oh, I don't know how to do this. Let's search in the core folder. Like let's search for some keyword that I'm looking for. And usually you find something. But anyways, so yes, we have a JSON parser in Odin, and it actually comes with a specification. And the specification is JSON, that's the normal one, and there's JSON 5, I don't know what that is, and then there's SJSON, and then there's a, this is something funny that Ginger Bill, who does the, who's made the Odin language, he has made this macro, or this, what's the macro, what is it called? It's called a same word thing. I don't know. And MJSON is also the same. So these two are the same as SJSON. And this is funny because, so here's a yes, all alias, of course. My brain is fried. Same word thing. So this is funny because I've actually worked at Bitsquid, and I was sitting and thinking about level editing format, and I was like, I wish I just had like an SJSON parser like the one we had at Bitsquid. And but oh well, yeah, and then I looked into the parser in the Odin standard library, and it didn't only say SJSON. There was even an alias for it called Bitsquid, which is super funny. I think that this is just the name of the game engine I used to work on, and they published the specifications of it on their on the blog at some point, and I used to work there, so it's kind of funny. Anyways, so I use the Bitsquid format, which is just optional commas, and you can have either colon or equal sign, and I think that's it. And you don't need a root object either. So because the root object is just always totally pointless. Okay. So let's get back to this. So the feature I want to add is that you can stand like this, and then you can grab this ledge somehow. So let's try to do that. Oh, it fell down. So this is my crap physics again, I think. Or maybe, I don't know. So how to start this? I'm thinking that I will check if for this feet collider, if my first iteration of this will be that if one of these corners is inside the feet collider, then I will jump into some other state. That's what I'm gonna try, at least. But what I see here immediately is that this green plop here might not actually even be inside it, because it's just at the edge of it. So I'm probably gonna make the feet collider double the height also. So you can do that while it's running, actually. Get player feet collider. So the feet collider is made like this. So let's this is the size of what I do is I take the player collider and I just put it at the bottom of I copy it and I put it at the bottom of it, and then I make it just 2 pixels high. But let's just move it up 2 pixels and make it 4 pixels high instead. And here you go, it loaded, and then it's so now the I'm sure the green thing is inside. And let's see what to do now. So let's go to the update player function. So I'm in player state normal right now. This is the normal walking state. Let's try this. If rl.isKey pressed into down. I'm always like, down, does that mean that it went down, or does that mean that it's held down? And is pressed, does that mean that it's being pressed or that it was pressed? No one knows. Down. This is a short syntax for, you don't have to write the whole enum name. You can just write .down. Because so Odin has this kind of enums, the keys. This is the keyboard keys in Raylib, and they look like this. And you don't have to write keyboard key dot things. You write just .down. And what to do here? Okay, let's check if one of these green things is inside this one. So how do I do that? Now I have to do things on stream. Oh no. I have all the grab points, I think. Let's check in the player struct. I just laughed at the weird. There came up 2 alternatives for player. One was mine and one was in the vendor library somewhere. Collides in front. Nearest grab point. Can't I just check if the nearest grab point is inside my feet collider? That's just, I mean, this is, like I said, this is just the first tiny iteration of this, so maybe state norm. Oh, you know what I should do? I should have two of these so I don't get lost when I as many of those. Okay, now we're back here. Let me see. Nearest grab point. A wall grab point is just a position. Okay. Or right. This is that. I program C# in my daytime, so I write var. You don't. You don't do that. Nearest grab point of pos. Okay. And this, of course, might sometimes, in some edge cases, select the wrong one, but this is our first tiny. Need to go in small steps. And then we need the feet collider. Get player feet collider. Player feet collider is with call that one. For some reason, I made this function so it doesn't take the player, but it takes the player's position and the pointer to the player state. So then we have the collider. How does a collider look? It has a position and size. Aha, then I think there's a, in Raylib, there's a function called collision, what's it called? Collision point rec. Let's try this, see if it can find if our feet is inside that thing. Who knows? And also in Odin you don't need the again C# thing, but you don't need the parentheses around the if thing. Just do like this. So the point is gp.pos, which is the nearest grab point, which is these green things. And then we need a rectangle. This rectangle is Raylib's, which is again the graphics library I'm using. It's Raylib's own type for rectangle. So my collider, I need to just fix one of those. Make one of those. PFC rect, whatever. X equals player feet collider.post.x. Width, height, size. So it has a size and a position. Use size. Oh wait, X, Y, like that. Yeah. And then we say format.print. Woo! And does that compile? No. GP has no. Okay, that's already a position. Silly me. Doesn't matter then. I do that. It compiled. Let's take. Where is my? There it is. So this. It says woo, and if I go over here, it does not say woo. So this works. So that's good. Then I know that my little green box has a hello Yoon. First time. Yeah, I know this guy Yoon from way back. I'm happy to have you see some Odin stuff. Welcome. Let's see here. It's funny because I'm from Sweden and my nickname used to be Cat, but now I'm making Cat game, so he called me Cat. So it's all quite funny. So I'm gonna close this one because I don't need it. So I'm inside it. Wait, what happened now? Oh no, my game crashed. Why? I don't know. Did it leave any of the DLLs? Not sure what. I didn't change the struct layout really, but oh well. Anyways, I gotta fix that. I think there's a. You can fall through the ground sometimes when you move the window because the delta times becomes too long. Anyways, stand here and it says woo, which means you're in. The green thing is in here. So let's try to change the state now to like. How do I do this usually? Set state. Oh, maybe I can just do this. Set state. P player state hang grab pos is GP. What will happen? It's facing the wrong way. And then it climbs up. That's easy to fix. Okay, the reason this happens is that... Oh, that's pretty good. It just needs to... If I just put the cat in the other way, press down, then it actually just grabs it. This just, I didn't expect it to be that easy, but... yeah, so I remember I was at a party at this guy, at Yoon's place, so he's asking, didn't we talk about exactly this problem many years ago, with me falling through the floor, when you pass through the thing you're trying to collision detect? Exactly. And usually the problem here is that you your frame time becomes too long. So if I move the window around, then I suddenly fall through the ground. And what happens here is that the frame time becomes very long, and so it moves the player a long distance. I haven't written proper physics yet. If I did that for the player, where you need slightly nicer collision, you would probably do a sweep test where you take the player is here, and then the next frame it's here. Then you make a long collider, and you check with that whole thing somehow, and then you check if that thing collided, and you do some shenanigans. So you can get past that. And yeah, I get my current fix for this, because this is not the kind of thing I would run to write a physics. I mean, say that I got like enemies into the game, or like some physical boxes that fall around, then I would write proper physics, because then I know exactly which things I need. For this problem, I might just cap the delta time, so it never does so that if the frame seems to be longer than 30 milliseconds, it just says it was 30 milliseconds, so it can't magically teleport through. But anyways, okay. Anyways, that almost worked correctly. It's just that it stands in the wrong way. But oh wait, I can probably fix that, because the what's it called? It's the grab point. The grab point has a compatible phasing. The compatible phasing is that when you jump, you can only grab this one if you jump from this way, and you can only grab this one if you jump from this way. So the only thing I need to do, I think, is that I need to take the compatible compatible phasing of this and set the player's phasing to it. p.phasing equals, wait, I haven't, I took out the position of the nearest grab point over here. I should have taken out the whole grab point and do this, pause, and then pause, and then gp.compatible phasing. I don't care if it's compatible or not, I'm just gonna use it. See, now I'm standing this way and it went like that. Now I'm standing this way and it went like that. Ha ha ha. So now I'm pressing the down key and it does that. So of course this might come with problems where, like, I don't want this to be possible to happen, but so that's the kind of polish thing I would do later, where I maybe do I know where the player will end up when the animation has finished, and I do a collision check against that, so I know if it would end up inside stuff, which I actually already do when I try to do the normal grab. I check that I don't push the player into the ground like that. So let's try to do the thing where if you walk, so if you run like that, then it shouldn't do anything. But if you walk and stop, like here maybe, then, or like this far out, then it will just automatically throw you into that state. So let's try doing that. How to make code. Oi! Bug? I think I can. Oh, what's that? So interesting. You see it slid into the wall? I don't know what happened. Wait, I think I know. No? Now he's trying to provoke the bug. I think I pressed the right key while it was doing the transition animation, and it doesn't clear the velocity, or it somehow uses the input to set the velocity, and I haven't guarded against that. No big deal. I can fix it later. So what we need to do now, we can't just do this when you press down, so we need to always do this check. We move this out of here, and we move this out here. Because I need to continuously check for this, not just if you're pressing down, because I need to do it automatically. That still works. It's reloaded. So there's two things to consider here. One is that which direction am I facing? So if I am facing this direction, then if I'm facing this to the west, then it's if the player hangs out on this side. But if I'm facing east, it's if the player hangs out on that side. Right. So that's the two cases. A collision point rect. What? I think I can just check. Yeah, I think it's quite easy actually, maybe. So the implementation I'm doing now will probably have funny corner cases. For example, if you stand like this, you know, and it does some automatic stuff, then it's gonna blow up because it actually has two of these inside, and it's gonna squish the player. What happens now? Oh, yeah, but if you do it automatically, like just based on the position of the green plop here inside the feet collider, it might just blow up. But we'll handle that later. Small steps. So I almost need to like bring out the super application MS Paint. So if the plop, if I'm facing this way, the plop is here. So now I'm facing west, and the plop is here. Then it's if the plop is more than halfway from the left side, and if you're facing east, it's more than halfway from the right side, I think. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, if p.facing equals west, I'm just gonna write very stupid code and we'll try to make it nicer later. If gp.pos, I kind of want to remove all this autocomplete. It just doesn't help me and just makes it chaotic on the screen. If gp.pos.x is more, this is me live thinking, then pfc.rect.x plus pfc.rect.width, which is divided by 2. So if the position is, yeah, and then I'm scared of, okay, no, I'm not going to be scared of the plus. I think this will be executed first. And that one is bigger than this position, which is the rect x position, plus the width divided by 2. Then we go into the hanging state. We do that. See if it works. PCF, PFC, who knows? Okay. Bye bye. I'm gonna get up here. Here you go. Game of the year. I think someone behind me is watching my stream and laughing at me. So what went wrong? Well, we can try this. p.vel.x equals 0. What the hell? Why did it crash, by the way? So something is a bit up with my, I mean, I make lots of ads for hot reload and then it somehow crashes. I think. Oh, there you go. And okay, so what I don't want here, so you see it always does this, but I want to be able to run off the ledge. But if I stop, but this is quite easy to fix. I can just like if facing west and p.vel.x, the absolute, does it matter if it's the absolute value or not, since it's go, who knows, abs is bigger than 0, I guess. 1, who knows? No? Okay, or maybe I, no wait, it's smaller than you see? Now stop and it works. Yeah, there, oh, it has a little you could see a little movement in the y direction here as well. So I can run off and I can stop at the ledge. And this is what I mean by it's fun to do this gameplay like this, because I just put these things in and make it work nicely like that. Now it won't work though for going to the right, because well, I'm facing east and there's no if for facing east. So let's move this if out like this. So if velocity is small, I define small as less than 1, and then we can put that thing there instead. Remove some nesting. Doesn't matter. Who cares about else if? If peep.facing equals east and back to paint. East. So in the east case, also it's so it's the x position of the feet collider, which again is this thing, the x position plus the width. No, it's if it's less than x plus width divided by 2, maybe, who knows. Maths, not even once. Maybe? Maybe? Ho ho ho. That can run off. Okay, so I can immediately tell it's a bit annoying because you get stuck suddenly, but it's a good start for something. Cool, so it works in both directions. So now I can be oh no, I'm scared. And I can drop. Choop, choop. I can jump up again. And I can drop down. Yeah, so yeah, this is this one. I'm like, oh, that's very useful. So the question here is how this feature is gonna work actually in the end. Like, is it if the drop is very big, it will do this automatically? Should it never do this automatically? Maybe all this is just crap. Who knows? But at least I have both variants. We'll see. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's a famous last action you can do in the game. You can crouch, and it does absolutely nothing. You become flat. You can't even jump while you crouch because it doesn't check for the jump in that state. Actually, I think maybe the collider. No, the collider used to become smaller, but now so you could walk under things. But the crouch thing is just a funny relic. Anyways, that's all good. How do I? Okay. I don't want don't want this to happen. And I'm gonna check how did I make sure that doesn't happen. Usually, like, because I fixed this before, so if I dash into the corner there, like go really close to the ground and dash, it doesn't happen. So I've apparently done something somewhere. Yeah, it's stealth mode, flat mode. I'm just looking to see where I was expecting to be forced to do like a new. Oh, maybe I should do a new animation for this, but it's like it would be fun to have a little transition animation where it sort of, it doesn't just turn around like that, it kind of jumps up and then flips somehow and then goes down, like if you're standing like this, because if you stand like this, it would be fun if it jumps up, flips around and then grabs. And if you stand like this, maybe then it does. Very weird how it... Oh, whatever. So, what to do? How to prevent... Oh, I fell through the ground. That was, I pressed down so it started sliding through the ground. How to prevent this from happening? Is it try, grab? Try, grab. What do you do? Yes, this one does stuff. So try grab is the one when you're in air. It's like, it tries to grab. It checks like, oh, is the difference between the player's grab position, which is the little this thing that you can barely see, but there's a circle at the feet here because I put in too many colliders, you can't see it. There's a circle here, which is the position where it tries to grab, and it checks it against these. So what this thing does is that it checks if this position difference is less than some threshold, and then if the facing is compatible off the edge and all that, and then it can grab. And then it does some other magic stuff. This is the kind of stuff that I have tweaked with hot reload. Like sometimes it grabbed in some funny cases when I didn't want it to, so I just added some extra gameplay funny stuff here. Okay, so this one says will collide false, and then so here comes another one where this code will be fixed in the future when we have proper physics system. So currently it doesn't resolve the physics in as past before, so it can later know like, oh, what, like it doesn't know what it's currently colliding with or and all that. And it has no fast way to do a collision test. There's like no broad face or anything. So what it does is like, okay, when I try to grab a point, I make a bool called will collide, and then I check with all the walls in the game. I check with the new collider I will get after grabbing. You know, when you're sitting like this. Well, it doesn't actually have a collider, does it? It does some funny things. So it creates a collider that's sort of here, at this point. It creates that collider, and then it does a collision check against all the walls, and if any of those walls are colliding with it and it's not and then there's some extra stuff here. I think it's just so it doesn't actually check against this wall. It only checks like if, in this case, if you try to grab this one, so it doesn't end up inside here. So if it does collide with something, it will set the will collide bool to true, and then down here, then it will check if it doesn't collide with anything. If it won't collide with anything after you're in the correct position for the hang, then it will set that state. And then the player state hang will of course also do this funny little grab animation that I showed like it's just this tiny transition there. So it actually starts the grab state slightly before, but it knows it will grab, and then it lerps the player towards it, plays a little animation, it turns up the player, puts it into this state, and all that. Okay, so the reason I'm looking at this is that I want this in this case, so this doesn't happen. But yeah, like I said, this is crap. It needs some smarter collision check, but that will happen when like more I will program that when more gameplay systems that need like physics things need it, not just like housekeeping collision stuff, because then I'm not sure exactly what I need from a collision system, so we'll see. Okay. What's needed? Okay. So what this function does is, given a position, it makes a collider, and this is sort of that default collider, and it has some offsets, and this is just because, what are you doing, cat? There was some velocity somewhere. So it makes this collider, and the player's position is actually, I think it's here at the middle bottom of it, so it sort of offsets it a bit, and so this is just a sort of default collider. Again, this is maybe something you would define in data a bit later when you have multiple types of things. Currently I have one player, so I've just hard-coded it, but it will move at some point. Anyways, get default collider. Can I move this into some fancy function? Like, actually this is just a collision check. Is there something? Okay, it's a collision check with some special stuff, because it checks. Okay, so what this does, it checks the phasing of P, which is the player, and then it checks if the col fix is the fix for the collision, like how much we need to push this, and if so it knows if it's something that's pushing you from behind or from the bottom. And the reason it does this is that in this case here you might end up colliding with this wall, but I don't care about this wall, so it's only if so in this case I'm facing east, so if there's something behind me over here pushing me, then I would be like, this is not allowed position. Same thing for west. If I'm facing west, which is this, and there was like a block here that overlaps with my collider, then it wouldn't allow it either. But if it's a collider of a collision fix in any y direction, then it's never allowed, because that means you would end up inside the ground. Okay, let's see. Collides. What's this? Okay, we will be very specific. Is hang state allowed? It's a procedure that takes position. Is that all I need? We'll see. So we'll do this. Take these things, put them in here. Like I said, this is the function that run whenever you try to grab while sort of in the air jumping, but I want it when I try to jump to kind of scale down a wall. Is hang state allowed? Okay, so then we feed position into here. Okay, that's fine. So we check if we have collision. Oh, we need a player as well, or do we? No, I'm not gonna give it to player. I'm gonna say, is hang state allowed hang facing, and I would be like facing, and then I will do this, and then I will take this, go down here. If not, is hang state allowed, and what are we doing? We're doing needed pos p.facing. Returning is good. Actually, in this case I don't need a variable anymore since I have... Wait, is hang state allowed? Return true, it's colliding. False. Return true. And this should be nicer now. It's just if is hang state allowed, will it blend? That is the question. So check if this still works before we do anything. Okay, the check for thing. I try to dash into this tiny ledge here and see if so. It seems to still work. Good. And this, of course, I haven't used this function yet. But let's try. Go over here. Another example for when I would replace this thing where I iterate over all the walls is, of course, if the game starts becoming like either when I have my new physics system in place, or if I would make a bigger level so this becomes slow iterating over everything. So because it's very brute force right now. Is hang state allowed? Okay. Actually, I think this code should go into this function as well. Yeah, so what this does, this is the position the player will have when it's actually hanging. That position is not the position of the grab point, because the grab point is this position. The player's position is like somewhere down here. So there's a little hard-coded offset here. But yeah, let's take this. Okay, now I'm like, okay, since I'm making assumptions that this is the player, I will pass a player. Change my mind. No, I can't. Wait, what am I doing? No, I won't do that because the position is not the player's position. Yeah. We'll keep it like that. Needed position. I mean, it's obviously about the player since the player is the one doing the hang state. So this is fine. Is that... Wait, needed pos. No. So now it's... Yeah, so it's gp.pos fed into pos. Needed pos is... Yeah, sort of grab point pos, I guess. No, needed pos here. But so this should still work. One thing I've been thinking about is adding a number on the screen that says which. Each time I hot reload, that's like it increases the API version. So just to be sure that it actually hot reloaded, I could write that. But it works so well. Like as long as this it succeeds and this thing didn't crash, it's always hot reloaded. So I'm like, I haven't really, I trust it enough. I've used some hot reload stuff in Unity, which is like, it's a bit more shaky. So that one I don't trust as much. So in that case, I'm always like, did it actually hot reload? But for this, it's fine, I think. We'll see. Maybe I'll add some number in the corner. Is hang state allowed? Okay. Okay, so this function here, quite expensive. This and does all that. I shouldn't probably do it all the time. So if it's inside, I don't know. Let's try this. gp.pos p.facing. yeah, so this will run every time. Okay, actually we can probably do like that. I think this will not even run if this one is false, I assume. So let's try that. Maybe I need to flip the facing, I'm not sure. Okay, now it doesn't. Oh, I shouldn't use the player's facing, I should gp.compatible facing. So I always want the player to the facing of the player doesn't matter, because I will force the player's facing to the compatible facing of the grab point. So I should just check if am I allowed to hang from this position with this facing. That's allowed. Is this allowed? Come on. Yes, it doesn't work. Oh well, it works, but it doesn't happen. And then we go here and it works. So that's all good and nice. But yeah, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with that for a first iteration of it. I didn't really show any animation stuff. Like I wanted to make a, but I think I've been at this for too long, so my brain is dead. But yeah, I think that's good for a first iteration of this feature. I'm gonna try playing it a bit, seeing if it even makes sense to, because yeah, I can run off the edge. It all works fine. If I stop, this is sort of this case where I suddenly stop and it goes down is sort of annoying. I would like it to be like, I don't know, maybe it's, I think maybe I need to increase the, it's like if you stop a bit further out or something, because maybe it's a bit too, but yeah, this is the problem with video games. I don't like when it looks like this, but maybe what's needed here is a new idle animation where the cat starts to like, oh, I could fall here, but I haven't fallen yet, so it's sort of like bunching up its feet over here, which is totally possible. That's not, yeah, that's totally possible to do. I think that's the probably the way to make it not look ugly. Oh well, I think that's, I'll do that some other time. I think I'm done for now. I'm quite happy with this. But yeah, like I said, super nice to have this hot reload stuff. I did almost all this. There we go. It fell through the ground again. I did almost all this without restarting the game, and I could tweak things like that. And I mean, I could actually probably tweak the position a bit, so you have to be a bit further out. Like I could, okay, when you face west, you want it to be maybe the width times 3/4. Is that? Yeah, I think so. And this one is maybe 1/4. So then it's like the last 25% sort of it. Does that compile? And that works. So that's the kind of stuff I mean. I could just try that and I could tweak it a bit, or maybe I throw the whole feature because it sucks. But yeah, to me this kind of workflow is what makes making gameplay code where the cat slowly sinks into the ground nice. No, but I need to kill, you know what? Damn it. I need to kill the whole velocity, not just, I need to do this. This is what I need to do. So if you, velocity is just, go here. Velocity is just a vector 2, and you can re-init any vector, like, this is now it's Odin time. This is Raylib's version of a vector, but that I ended up using. But this is just in turn defined as, we're actually using, it doesn't matter which one we're using, but we could say that we're using this one, and this is just an array of 2 F32s, which is floats. So that and the vector is just, and then you're like, but how does like how does, if you do like some vector, now I'm on a tangent here. How does some vector work if you like, okay, we have some vector vec2 1 1 and we want to make another vector called some vector times 2 or like something like that. Since this is just an array, like how would this work? And the language doesn't have like some kind of operator overloading, so unlike people, I was like, how will this work? What language does have is what's called array programming. So if you have any vector of numbers, it will just like, this will mean that it will multiply each number in that vector no matter how big it is by this number. And if you add like this, this would also work because it knows, okay, it's 2. I think I said vector, but the vector is just an array, fixed size array of floats. So in this case, it knows that this is a fixed size array of floats, and this is also a fixed size array of floats, and both are of the same size. So then I can add them, and this is built into the language. So any kind of thing you make that's an array or a matrix, like down here, it has built-in matrix support as well. You can just add them and do things like that. Actually, I don't know. I'm not sure about how much it works with matrix operations and stuff. Maybe like matrix add works, like adding element-wise. But maybe if you want to do complicated stuff like multiplication of vectors, maybe then you have to use a function. But the common case is you do vector sort of linear algebra, and you want to make your player's position plus this and then times that, and that just works. So you can have your vector be sort of any array of f floats or whatever you want. Why was I saying this? I don't know. You tell me. But anyways, yeah. So my brain is fried now, but I'm quite done. So I tweaked this to be like 25% from the edge instead. So it's all nice and good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that for a first little stream. Oh yeah, what I was doing was I was clearing the velocity to so this vector is just two floats, and you can clear any fixed size array by using 2 brackets. You can actually clear a dynamic array using 2 brackets as well to make it just kill all the elements. But yeah, I think that will. Okay, still syncs. Interesting. I think I have a bug elsewhere that I will find. But anyways, I'm quite happy with that for a first stream. If anyone would like to watch this in its entirety, I will also upload it to YouTube and post on social media where it lives. But yeah. Thank you, Matthias. He says, looks good. I like your workflow. Thank you. It's a fun way to, I think, for a solo developer, or maybe if you're a one developer plus an artist or whatever, it's a nice workflow because, like, if you're a 10 people, you know, then you might need to do more abstract upfront design because people will want ready-made tools to do their stuff in their way, and you need to empower people to do stuff when you're not looking at exactly what they're doing. But if you're doing everything yourself, then I think this is a great way to make games. And also I think it's a good thing to stop worry about game engines and just do the thing you need now, and because that's sort of the same thing. Don't make big abstract decisions based on gameplay you don't have or something like that. Yeah. So any questions before we end? I will give it 30 seconds while I jump around. I have also one thing I could quickly show related to the animations and stuff is that so you saw that the animations, I just realized this might be a bit interesting since I showed this. For example, this is the climb up animation. It has a lot of frames. Currently I don't have a tool to define animation, so it's all hard coded. So there is like a the player currently contains lots of animations. These will go into kind of resource manager later because these actually have the texture inside them. So the hang climb is the animation related to this, and an animated sprite is a texture, a Raylib texture, a number of frames, a current frame, how long each frame is, and a timer for knowing that is just a thing added each frame. And in game init it makes the player, and it here just this is what I currently have. And of course I will make a tool at some point when I have like a player and some other people walking around and I need to define their animations, who knows. But this says make animated sprite. It takes a texture, number of frames, and how long is each frame. That's all. And these numbers I just tweak until it feels nice currently. And I do that with the hot reloading stuff. Actually I have to, this is in game init, so I have to, if I change the length of the frame here, I have to do a hard F6 reset. I have to press the button that clears the memory, and so it reruns this and re-inits the whole game. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that will at some point move out. But I was just thought it might be interesting to see that there's no black magic here with the how I bring the sprites into the game. Anyways, I think that's it. Thank you for watching the stream, and I will put the whole shebang, doodly-doo, whatever you call it, the whole video up on YouTube if anyone wants to watch it later. And I will probably, we'll see, I will work on this. I will work on this little side project every now and then, and we'll see. I'm thinking about maybe having like a weekly stream, so I will work on it on my own, and then I will try to on stream implement fun gameplay features, and this will mean gameplay code and making animations and graphics. I don't want to have like big things where I do like, oh, I'm gonna make the physics system, because I think there's other game dev streamers who do that stuff, and I want, for myself, I think I want to that stuff I rather do on my own, because I think I get stressed if I have people watch me when I try to do smart maths or something. I'd rather do something like funny and graphical on the stream, like implementing new gameplay features that are more on a surface level. And it's also good for me because that's the stuff that I need to practice a bit, and then I get nice feedback and stuff. Yeah. Anyways, so we'll see. Maybe I'll make a schedule for future streams or something. Anyways, thank you for watching. I will now go open OBS and click the button that ends it all.